Hello, YouTube. YouTube. So, I'm like, oh my God. I just had to talk about this movie, Safer at Home. And I'm telling you, like, the movies they have on Tubi, hands down, is better than the movie theater. Like, for real. Like, I haven't seen a good movie in a movie theater in a few years. I feel like since the pandemic. Like, for real. Like, since the pandemic, you have more and more underground writers that's coming out the woodwork. Like, people are just like, fuck it, I'm gonna write a movie, you know. And I love it. I really love it for our culture, because so many talented people that are on Tubi. And you know what? I think I'm gonna go for it, you know. I just love Tubi. Like, I'm obsessed with Tubi. I love Tubi. Like, Tubi better never shut down. Like, I love me some Tubi. So the movie I just finished watching was Safer at Home. And why do I love this movie so much? It really shows human nature, and it shows like what people would do in a situation that's very serious. So this movie takes place during the pandemic, which just happened recently. You know, it's funny because everyone's living their life like it didn't happen. And COVID impacted a lot of people. A lot of people lost their jobs and homes. And a lot of people changed. They don't even realize that it changed them. But you have people who used to go out all the time. And then when COVID happened, they literally don't go out anymore. Like, they don't go out at all. If it's not with family or a significant other, they literally don't go out with friends at all. And for some people it's age, but I think the pandemic had a great impact on that, you know, because it really showed you who you need and who you don't need. It really showed you what's important in life. You know, concerts, plays are fun, but it's not a need. And I think that's what it showed me. What's important is family and the well-being of your family. So in this movie, it's 3 couples and a single person on Zoom. They're all friends. They all know each other. One of the couples is an interracial couple, and the black one, he's a lawyer. And so his responses to what's going on is very interesting. It's very people were selfish, and it really shows the selfishness of people. So basically they're all just hanging out, everyone's drinking. The drinking turns into drugs, so everybody decides to experiment on some drugs. I gotta watch it over to get the name, you know, because in the beginning I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, oh, they just talking about a Zoom call. But then it starts to get interesting when one of the couples, the guy was biracial and the girl is white. So the girl, they get into an argument, and she's like, why don't you get dressed? Why don't you dress better and brush your teeth? You know, just being, you know, the thing she was saying was kind of mean, but you know, it's a quarrel, right? So she hits her head on, I guess what they call a dresser. Some people put their dressers in the living room because there's no space in the bedroom. So she hits her head on a very sharp piece of furniture, and she starts bleeding. Now, the normal reaction, or a person who has empathy or they give a shit, they're gonna call an ambulance, right? That's something that I think should be common sense. No one thinks of that. And you know what the boyfriend does? He leaves. He's on the phone with his friends, and they're like, oh, nobody in the call, and this is what pissed me off. Nobody thought of her. Nobody thought of her well-being to say, oh my God, she's losing blood. Now, you don't have to be a nurse to know when you lose blood, a lot of things can happen. You could be you're losing oxygen, first of all. Also, you could be hemorrhaging. Like, you could literally, if you hit your head on something hard, like I have a very hard dining table. If someone hits their head on that, I'm calling the ambulance. Like, I'm not gonna think about it. I'm calling the ambulance. That's my automatic reaction. That's just, you know what I'm saying? It's a very hard surface. You could get a concussion. You could bleed, especially if I see any type of blood, I'm calling the ambulance. That's just me. You could be a first-time guest in my home. I'm calling the ambulance because that's what normal people do, right? So keep in mind they're on drugs. Just keep that in mind. They're all high. So for some people that might be an excuse, but I don't think that's an excuse. Whatever. So no one says, oh, call the ambulance or anything of that stature. Blood is, at this time, blood is coming from her head and it's all over the floor. He's talking to them and they're like, oh my God, what are you going to do? Da, da, da. So instead of the boyfriend calling the ambulance, he runs. Yes, you heard me right. The boyfriend, who's supposed to be her boyfriend, that's supposed to love and protect you and whatever, he runs. Later on in the movie, the lawyer goes on to say, oh, you know, we're going to have to log off because it's going to trace to us. Like, so no one cares about her health or her well-being. People are only concerned with getting arrested and getting in trouble with the law, which is very disturbing to me because me personally, at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in if you do the right thing, everything else will follow. If you do the wrong thing, things will follow too. It's important to make the right choices in life. The boyfriend made the very wrong choice. You do not run, right? If it was an accident, right, as it was, you stand by her side, you call the ambulance, you say she hit her head, XYZ, XYZ. Then you're not going to be looked upon as a suspect, right? So eventually, as the movie continues, he's running, running, running. I feel like even when you're high, I feel like if he was a good person, he would be running to get help for her. Like, my girlfriend's bleeding in the apartment, like da-da-da. And then what ends up happening is, before he runs, what made him really run was not only his friends giving bad advice, but the neighbor knocks on the door. Because in some neighborhoods, and when I say, even in East New York, like, I remember there was incidents where my parents would be yelling and my neighbor, who was a cop, she would knock on the door occasionally, like, is everything okay, whatever, whatever. You do have caring people in the world. Not everyone's an asshole, right? So where they were staying at, people heard arguing, and then she hit her head. So the neighbor, he knocks on the door. He's like, yo, is everything okay? Da da da. So naturally, he's like, yeah, everything is fine. Da 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 da. They call the cops. That's just a human reaction. If I hear somebody argue, for the most part, I don't really say anything, like, from where I live, because I don't live in a quiet area. So if you, unfortunately, in NYCHA or in Brownsville, when you hear people screaming, it's kind of normal, unfortunately. But in places like Linden Plaza, East New York, or Star City, or where else? Park Slope, Brooklyn Heights, I want to say certain parts of Queens, you can't just scream and yell and argue and nobody's going to say anything. Like, someone's going to say something and they're going to ask you if you're okay, because they're normal human beings, right? So they heard the screaming, they heard the commotion, they asked if everything's fine. He was acting erratic on top of that, so yes, the police was called. The police, at this point, they're trying to get into the apartment, right? He leaves through another entrance. I don't know how he was able to, it's an apartment. I don't know how he was able to leave another way, but he leaves another way. So what people don't understand is police officers are human too, right? If I'm coming at your door over a domestic dispute, right? And I look inside, and inside the window, I could see a woman laying down with blood, and you have blood on your hands and you're running, I'm going to think you did something to her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's not going to think that, right? So he proceeds to run, and his friends are not giving him good advice at all. They're just talking about having a lawyer and this and that, and, you know, one of the other couples, she knew a lawyer, and she's like, yeah, he's a really good lawyer, and they're like, no. Everybody is for self. Everybody. And then the lawyer that was actually in the group chat, he goes, we have to log off because they're going to trace this to us, and da-da-da-da-da-da. That's all he kept saying throughout the movie. And I'm like, nobody cares that this girl might be dying. Like, it got me going, because this could happen in real life. Like, this is not far-fetched. Like, you could be with your boyfriend, your boo thing, and you think he cares about you, and then you hit your head, and so he runs. Like, that's so messed up to me. It's like, that's the worst thing. So he's running. Finally, of course, the police catch up with him, because, yeah, of course they're going to catch up with you. They the police. That's the dumbest thing, and that's the one I can't stress that. To run from the police is like running from God. Like, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, they set up the police department so they are somebody told me that, omnipresent. So if Officer John, right, if he can't get to you, guess what? He has a radio. He's gonna call his coworker that might be closer to you than he is. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna, you know, 1014 da 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 ba 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 Avenue da 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 da. Like, they communicate with each other. So you could think you getting by. You will never get away. And it's like, watching a movie just makes me tight, because you're a man of color. You should know not to run from the cops. Like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever do, right? Because they're going to catch you, right? And for me, I couldn't do that job because I get easily irritated at shit. So people like, well, why don't you be a cop? I can't be a cop because you can't come to my face talking about something, your girlfriend bleeding and you left. I'm shooting you just for doing that. Like, like, yeah, oh, I don't know. And I'll act like I didn't even know what I was, like, I couldn't do that job because it would mess me up mentally. Like, I feel like I would go crazy doing that job because so many people do stupid shit and they think that police officers are not human. Now, you got a lot of cops that do extra stuff, but cops are human too. So this guy is running. He's hiding behind the bushes. While he's doing this, he's on the phone with his friends the whole time. The whole time, right? He's on the phone with his friends. The police finally catch up to him and they're like, get out the vehicle. He refuses to get out the vehicle. He finally gets out the vehicle. They like, put your hands up. He's reluctant to do that. So what happens? They shoot him because you're not listening. First of all, I shouldn't have had to chase you. That's very annoying. Like, I hate, like, like, I can only imagine what that's like as an officer. And so some people might say, well, they should have tased him. No, because you left your girlfriend to die. You don't deserve to live. You don't. You're a coward. I've been chasing you. You want to run through bushes. I'm going to shoot you. Like, why should you live? And you left your girlfriend, and right when they shot him, they put it in the radio, suspect is down. That's it. Mission accomplished. Suspect is down. You're a suspect now because you want to leave your girlfriend bleeding. And then while he's bleeding, when the cops shot him, the girlfriend gets up and I guess a miracle. I don't know if that could happen. Comment below. Is that possible, to my medical experts, that you could hit your head on a hard surface, bleed a lot, and still be alive? I don't know if that could be possible, I guess. But she wakes up and she touches her head and she's like, I'm bleeding. What happened? Right? Nobody in the video chat says, oh, you hit your head. Oh, you're okay. Oh, thank God you're alive. Nobody says that. Nobody says that. The boyfriend goes on to say, oh, you're alive. Right? But the way he said it was like he wasn't even happy that she was alive. It was kind of like, oh, it was just so emotional to see it, because it's like, I can't imagine having a group of friends and a boyfriend. I hit my head and you leave But it shows how much love the girlfriend had in her heart. She wasn't worried about her accident. She wasn't even worried about the blood. She saw on the camera that her boyfriend got shot. She immediately thought of him. She thought of somebody else. And that's the world we live in. People are so damn selfish. And they only think about themselves. She didn't think about herself. She didn't say, oh my God, I'm bleeding, da da da. Most people, I'm like, if I see blood, I'm going to tend to my wound. I'm going to ask for help, whatever, whatever. She didn't do none of that. She tended to him. She saw her boyfriend on the screen. Whatever problems they had, she totally forgot it. She tended to him. She saw him down. She saw cops behind him. She's like, oh my God, did they shoot you? She didn't think about herself. She thought about him. And that's the whole point of the movie. She was not selfish. He was selfish. He's like, oh, you're alive. And, you know, he felt bad for his actions. At that moment, he realized he made the wrong choice. And he's like, his last words was, you know, I probably would have been a crappy father anyway. She's like, no, you would have been an excellent father. Like, she's being so positive. And she's like, no, don't die on me. Don't die on me. He never said that to her. When she was bleeding and she fell, he didn't say that. But when the roles were reversed, she was crying. She was, oh my God, don't die on me. Where are you? Like, it was all towards him. And it just shows you, like, sometimes you could love somebody so much, but they don't feel the same way. And so right on camera, he dies. And it's pretty sad because it's like his wrong choices led him to that point. It did. They drag his body. And so you see another cop come on and he has the gas mask. And everybody logs off because they're running from the cops. They're cowards. Cowards, because the lawyer guy, he's like, we gotta log off so they don't trace us. Right? Selfish. But the girlfriend stayed behind. She stayed on. To the very end, she stayed on, crying, and she wanted to know, where are you taking his body? Where is he going? Right? Because she loved him that much. Whatever problems they had, whatever, it went out the window. But she really was like, yo, where y'all taking his body? Because they showed him, you know, dragging his body off the curb, whatever. The officer took a plastic bag and was like, I guess, trying to cover the camera or whatever. And then in the end, the cop hangs up on her. You know, I guess because that was his phone. So the cop hangs up and she's screaming. And then the next scene is 2 years earlier and Trump is talking about COVID and they toasting or whatever. So it was just really like one of those movies that really make you stop and think, to be like, damn, do I have true friends? Do I have people who actually care about me? And you know what? I think I'm going to ask that on my next date. Because it really got me to thinking, like, if I hit my head and I'm bleeding, A, will you call the ambulance? B, would you get scared and run? Or C, would you just not care and just, you know, think about yourself? Like, it really, like, gets you to thinking, like, what are people's real intentions? And these were childhood, lifelong friends, and these are my friends, and this is my man. Her man ran, okay? When she was bleeding and there was blood on the floor, he ran like a little bitch. And then the last thing he says to her is, I thought you were dead. None of them was happy that she was alive. None of them. That says a lot. None of them said, oh my God, thank God you're alive. Oh my God. Are you okay? None of them said that. None of them said that. And some people, they be so, like, sure of their friends. Like, oh, like I told you, I'm like, you know, as you get older, you really realize, like, even childhood friends ain't shit. There's 2 childhood friends that I'm not friends with no more. And I just realized they were never friends. But it's like, yeah, people are just evil. There's no other way to describe it. Your girlfriend hits her head on a piece of furniture. And instead of either trying to get help or calling an ambulance, you leave and you run. That's just because you're so afraid of getting arrested. So you going to jail is more important than her life. Like, even if you go to jail, it's not going to be that long, because they can't say aggravated assault. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the truth is the truth, and the truth will always prevail. I'm a big believer in that. But my thing is, like, you could be so selfish to walk away from a dying body. And then he had the audacity to say that he thought she was dead. That makes it even worse. You thought I was dead, and that's why you left? You thought I was dead and you left? That makes it even worse. But she wasn't selfish. Her main concern was him. Like, oh my God, are you okay? She had a whole thing of blood on the side of her head. And she kept saying to him, are you okay? Food for thought. Those are my thoughts. And the name of the movie is Safe at Home on Tubi. Check it out.